What does the future hold for Drew McIntyre? And why should he simply watch it pass him by? I fell out of love with professional wrestling and WWE for the longest time. As the dust settled on the ruthless aggression era, the global conglomerate ushered in a new, safer product catered to a much younger audience. In 2013, 16-year-old wrestling wasn't too compelled by it. It took me all the way until WrestleMania 35 for me to finally be exposed to the product I was once so enamored by as a child. As I flicked on the biggest show of the year, walking down the ramp was an absolute mountain of a man, one entirely unrecognizable, wearing a leather coat, flanked by good old Dolph Ziggler, DZ. Next to him stood Drew McIntyre. My jaw dropped when I heard the name. It took a second, but the memories of a scrawny, bronzed man with a smug scowl on his face rushed back to me, just like I used to rush towards the TV every time Lita was on the screen. Drew McIntyre has it. He is undoubtedly special. As an athlete, he's one of a kind. Physically, he's an absolute mammoth of a man, and he can move in the ring in a way that wrestlers half his size struggle to. He has charisma, an aura, star power, and history to back himself up. I still think it's unfair and unjust that Drew McIntyre never truly got his flowers. After all, once he'd finally paid his dues, he rebuilt himself, worked his ass off in the independent scene for a couple of hot dogs and a pat on the back, he went on to win one of the most incredible Royal Rumble matches in recent memory, and finally ascend to the summit of the WWE mountain after defeating the most decorated combat sports athlete of all time. In an empty warehouse. The man never got his moment. He never had his time. He never got to feel the adulation and respect of his peers, his family, or the millions around the world. Drew McIntyre carried the company through a miserable era, and he did it with grace. As I'm saying this, I can still see the beautiful Thunderdome stage and the fire roaring during McIntyre's entrance. It was his era. He held it all together, once again, paying his dues. The reason I believe that Drew McIntyre could be the perfect villain to Cody Rhodes' story is because they both led similar paths. They both had timid initial runs in the WWE. They both had to face the gut-wrenching, horrifying prospect of being fired. And they both went on to reinvent themselves to return as larger-than-life figures with more of an aura than ever before. For some, Cody Rhodes finishing the story seems like it simply must happen, but for others, specifically Drew McIntyre, the entitlement would infuriate him and awaken a much more aggressive, brooding Scottish warrior. Drew managed to finish his story, but the ending wasn't a happy one. Oh no, instead it was a grotesque, artificial sensation, a rotting, decaying rendition of the dream he'd held so tightly in his heart while he struggled away for 9 years. The dream he used to inspire every flight, every cheap hotel, every night away from his family on the road, every stiff match, every dire payout. The dream he'd begun to crave eluded him. It's actually a harrowingly sad story when you think about it. I want to see that hunger in Drew. I want to see that desire. I want to see that fire and rage. I believe that Drew should be at every single hurdle Cody has to jump in the lead up to the inevitable Reigns vs. Rhodes rematch, just to add another layer of adversity and struggle to the pursuit of dethroning Roman Reigns. I love Cody, but that's for another video. I do genuinely believe that this WrestleMania rematch against Reigns shouldn't simply be written in the stars. He needs to earn it again. And he sure as hell needs a world of momentum behind him if he's going to be the one to end the reign of the biggest star in the WWE in decades. I am so tired of superstars living in the shadows of the greats, especially when the WWE has one of the most talented rosters in the history of the business at their disposal, as well as second-to-none television deals and social media platforms. Drew McIntyre is a generational talent at the peak of his powers with an astronomically high ceiling and deserves to be treated as such. I wouldn't be surprised at all if WWE goes on to make Drew a bona fide megastar. But equally, I'd also be unsurprised if they continue to fumble the ball with the man that has been dreaming broken dreams for far too long now. With recent events at Survivor Series, I look forward to seeing the next chapter of his career unfold, and if it is anything remotely close to what we've just spoken about, it's going to be a pretty cathartic watch from the sidelines. What do you think about the current trajectory of Drew McIntyre's career? Do you think more World Heavyweight Championship gold is in his near future? Or do you think he's going to continue meandering with the Judgment Day? Let me know down below, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, I've been wrestling.